Welcome back to the Kill Real podcast. We're super excited to have our guest today, Mr. Jason Scott Morgan. He's an actor whose range is matched only by the road he's taken to get there. He started out in Disney's The Ernest Green Story and the action flick Stone Cold. He then served in the Navy as a cryptologist. And after a serious injury and reconstructive surgery, he returned home with a new perspective and eventually back to acting. Jason's screen work includes roles in Freedom's Path as Master Morris, Chicago PD, the indie feature Antiquities, the upcoming Hellfire, where he plays alongside Harvey Keitel and Dolph Lundgren. He's also appearing in Sovereign with Nick Offerman and Martha Plimpton, and in Joseph Kahn's Ick. On stage, he's taken on some of the most demanding roles in theater: Stanley Kowalski in A Streetcar Named Desire, R.P. Murphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, R.P. McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Boggs Diamond in The Shawshank Redemption, Mr. Bryant in 1/9, and he also played Mike Talman in Wait Until Dark. Whether it's film, TV, or theater, Jason brings a grounded intensity and a lived-in honesty to his characters. He's got a resume full of range and a life story that's just as compelling, so let's get into it with Mr. Jason Scott Morgan.
How do I even follow that?
Welcome to the podcast.
That's amazing. It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, too.
Griffin, how are you?
Doing great. We're being sarcastic because Jason and I are friends. We've worked together on a few films here and there.
A couple.
Do
Do you recognize this shirt?
I do recognize that shirt.
Where this shirt came from?
I believe you got that when we were in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. It was, what, about 10 years, 11 years ago?
10 years ago. It was Tulum, right?
Yeah. That's
Tulum, Mexico.
A Mexico City purchase. So. So there were a couple of Mexico City purchases, as I recall.
It still fits nicely.
I love it. I love it. It's my puppy. I keep it clean.
It looks very comfortable.
It's a special occasion piece of thread here.
Very, very light and airy.
Yes.
Well, let's just start right from the beginning.
Okay.
How did you get your start in acting?
The first thing I remember was kindergarten, playing Santa Claus in the school production.
Nice.
And then that was just a thing that just happened. And then throughout grade school, I had this penchant for performing and acting out, being the class clown. So I knew there was something to it, but I didn't know how to channel that. And then somewhere around junior high, we would do the, it was called ACE. It was like Accelerated and Creative Education. It was gifted and talented classes.
Right.
And so sometimes with that would come like little skits and things we would act out. And I realized I really liked that. So high school, like a production of Christmas in the Land of Oz. I played Toto, and then skipped school a lot, and then moved to Little Rock in my senior year to McClellan, where the theater program there, that's where I met Chris Wilkes and Jason Plum, and skipped school a lot more, and did like a production of Imagine and a couple things there, but really enjoyed it. And then after school, I went to the Navy. I did a lot of other things, and I kind of forgot about it all. And eventually, I found myself running a board game and card game store.
Right.
And
that's what you were doing when we met.
That's when we met, right? And so around 2010 or so, I think it was 2011, Anyone came around. It was a zero budget feature that was being shot here locally. And I think I want to say that's where we met, in that time range. But somehow I was asked if I wanted to be background in that and play a bartender. And I said, sure, let's try that out. And just being on that set and being part of that process kind of reignited all that stuff. I took an acting course, a laureate course at UALR in 1986. And we did like a mini production of West Side Story, but that doesn't really count either. That was all kind of, the catalyst, I think, was Anyone and getting in there and doing that. And I think it was Scott that said he'd never seen anyone so convincingly washing glasses in the background. And I was like, wow.
Yeah. Scott McIntyre, by the way.
Good at something,
Yeah.
So, and that kind of started the process. And then from there, we started sort of collaborating. And then there was, the Walking Dead commercial for the store.
I'd completely forgotten about that.
Yeah. And that was great. And that prompted me to buy a brand new TV for my living room so we could have everyone over just to watch that commercial. Because we bought a time slot so that commercial would play during The Walking Dead.
Right.
And then the 48-hour films as we started that. And that was lightning in a bottle, I think. Team Grundle, just everybody on the team knew their roles and executed it masterfully. And we just kind of made ourselves a force to be reckoned with on that 48-hour team. And that's just how it was. We were good and we won. But it was fun doing all that stuff and like kind of learning, because there's a big lack of education around here. There's not really formalized classes or theater courses and such, but there's a lot of predatory stuff that comes through Arkansas with like 9-9 and all these Disney castings and all that stuff, and people think that's their way to break in.
Right.
Really, the way to break in is to just get the fuck out and do something.
Pay to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So UCA college films, and then I started between the college films and the 48-hour. I was really starting to gain confidence in myself. And people kept saying, we really liked what you did. And I was like, no one ever told me that they liked me as a game store owner. No one ever said, man, you're a really great fajita cook. But they're like, we like your acting. I was like, okay, so, and everyone sees it differently. I don't see it through the same lens as everyone else does. Right. But I went with it. And then Antiquities came around, which was J. Daniel Campbell and Graham. And Troy Hogan was in that, who was also Righteous Gemstones. Right. He plays one of Jesse's goons in the Gemstones.
And the lead was in Walking Dead. Another connection to Walking Dead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Andrew J. West. And actually, I brought my bag. I had another one of these Sheriff Rick Grimes bags that I purchased, and I took it to set and had him sign it for my brother-in-law for Christmas.
Yeah, we forgive him for eating Bob's leg.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, things have to be done.
Yeah.
So, but that project, the scene was completely cut. We never got to see it at all. But that got me eligible to join SAG-AFTRA. Right. Now, there's I guess, a notion that once you join the union, everything is going to be great or whatever. But it being in a right-to-work state, the general consensus is put that off until you absolutely have to. Right. Because there's initiation fees, and then you have to abide by rules. And you can't do those 48-hour films anymore without paperwork. You can't do the college films without paperwork. And that's fine. But it got to a point where a certain production came through, and I was cast in it a couple of months in advance. And then a couple of days before it was to shoot, I was contacted by production, and there was some miscommunication, and they said they didn't want to Taft-Hartley me in, and so they were going to recast it or whatever. And at that point, I was like, okay, fine. If you want me to work on your project from now on, you're going to have to play by the union rules. And I out of spite, joined SAG-AFTRA basically, for the most part. But for me, it was a personal decision, and it's everybody's journey is very individual. And for me, it was the right thing to do at the right time. And because I did that, I opened myself up to like another playing field of things that I could apply for, things I could audition for. So then it was not just local, no budget and low budget stuff, or the occasional feature that would come through on a low budget thing in Arkansas. Now it was like you're reading for network shows, you're reading for Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, all this stuff. So it was a totally different deal. So joining, and then in between there was, the stage work, the education, taking those roles that would mean something to me. Like playing Stanley in Streetcar was like the big white whale of, male American theater roles for me. And the challenge was to not do it like it was done in the film. But at that point, I still hadn't seen the film completely anyway, so I had no benchmark. Right. And I could just do it. I could do it. And
that's a good thing, I think.
I think so, too. Mm-hmm. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is one of my favorite films of all time. And the challenge there was to not try to be Jack.
Exactly.
Don't do that shit because no one wants to see that. Right. Because I'm not Jack. So finding something in those characters and bringing something of myself to them all, like for Stanley, I envisioned Stanley as, why is he such an asshole? Because Tennessee Williams is writing all his male characters as just complete dirtbags, they're throwaway assholes. But we have these clues that he was in the war. He came back, things changed. He says his war buddy's there. So I'm like, well, what if Stanley has PTSD? And that's why he acts the way he does. He's not just an asshole. He's there's something going on mentally.
Right.
So I leaned into that, and that helped me out a lot to just kind of bring that realism to it. And then, of course, we got to do a production of Wait Until Dark at was it the Conway
Conway Dinner Theater.
Conway Dinner Theater, yeah. And Scott McIntyre also, coming back for that.
Yeah, played one of the leads.
Yeah.
My first theater production. Never done one before, never directed one.
But that was great because that was just a group of us friends doing it. You know, you didn't really have to reach out too far to find somebody. You were like, I can trust that person with that, this person.
It was literally just a bunch of friends getting together and performing on a stage for a week.
Just did it for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was awesome. I love that.
And a great show too. It was a great play. It's a great ride. It's a great story.
It really is.
It was really fun to do. And I remember people being didn't realize that Kayla actually wasn't blind, which is probably one of the biggest compliments an actor could ever get. Yeah. You know, so.
Yeah, she was terrific in that.
Oh, yeah. I remember Scott picking out somebody to make eye contact with during his evil monologue. It said, just pick somebody, make eye contact with them, and never look away, and see if you can make them look away and stop looking at you.
Yeah.
So yeah, super fun. I really enjoyed that experience, and you were great in it as well.
That was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun, and we've done, and the three of us, like still my favorite thing that the three of us, you and I and Jennifer, have ever done is, I can't even remember.
Now You See Me.
Now You See Me.
Yeah.
Now You See Me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now You See Me. I still just think that's. I think it's amazing, and it gave me a chance to do some physical comedy and learn that I could do it. Mm-hmm. You know.
Oh no, you're talking about the
not Now You See
film.
Me. No, yeah, not Now You See Me. What was it called?
What was that called? Silent but Deadly.
Smells like farts.
Silent but Deadly.
Yeah. Silent but Deadly.
Yeah.
And again, that's us taking our liberties with the 48-hour film festival and making, if we want, a 7-minute long dick joke.
Right.
You know, like
and it's so much fun because we didn't have to get audio.
Right.
And so we could just yell stuff.
So we're just done.
Yeah.
You know, and we shot in my neighborhood, which is all like mariachi music and sirens and dogs barking all the time. So
yeah.
So that was super fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
But from there, like after joining, and it's constant. You know, there's a lot of self-submission on Actors Access and things like that, the business side of it. But opening up doors, like my agent's been able to get me auditions for things like the Continental, you know, which was a very small list of people who they wanted to read for because you had to have a specific look.
Right.
You know? But landing, you know, Chicago PD and all the feature films. I think we have 5 feature films about to come out at any given time right now. I think there's 5 of them total that are ready. And one of them I'm really excited about is next month. Sovereign's premiering at Tribeca, which is pretty good. You know? Yeah. It's pretty amazing. And I think they're going to be playing at the Benton Film Festival too, the Bentonville Film Festival.
Right. Yeah. I
may want to go up there for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is going to be there.
Yeah, I think it's on the 20th. So I think we're going to try to go up and see that there.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun trip. But yeah, did I stray from the? No,
I mean, you pretty much kind of walk me through the path of how you got into this.
Yeah.
In the first place. So, is there one role out of everything you've done that you feel the most connected to out of any of the roles, or maybe a couple?
The Stanley Kowalski. I keep going back to that because I did my version of prep work for that was actually going to New Orleans in August and walking around the city and getting lost by myself.
Right.
And trying to soak it all in, and you know, and trying to figure out the magic, you know, that it surrounds that script, and then being able to do it on stage. And it was so between the actors that played Blanche and Stella and myself, we stayed on a group chat for almost 2 years afterwards, just checking in with each other every once in a while. Are you okay? Because it was traumatic.
Right.
You know, I had to be this insufferable rapist asshole, you know, and them trusting me to do that. And, you know, we just built a big bond there and over that character. And I spoke to Ben recently, who is now, he's leaving for, Ben Grimes is leaving for Paducah.
Right. I want to try and get him on here before he leaves.
You got to talk to Ben. But yeah, I mean, I won't give all his story away, but he's taken over this massive theater thing in Paducah, Kentucky. And you wouldn't think that that's an epicenter of culture, but apparently it is.
Yeah, he's a theater legend here.
Absolutely.
In Little Rock.
Yeah, he and the other, both of the Bens, I mean, they've done their work. They've tread the boards in New York and Chicago and all that.
Right.
But Ben directed me in that, and he made a comment. So Ben, I know you're going to see this at some point. He made a comment about, maybe one of the first things we try to do in Paducah is resurrect Streetcar. And he says, now and I've got places for lodging for actors, I could bring in professionals and stuff. And I was like, give me 6 months to get in shape, and I'll be there. You know? But wow, I mean, it's just an amazing. That was just a very deep character, very emotionally draining, and when it was all over, it lingered for a long time because of the things we had to invest in it. The actors had to just go all out with it. And there was a production of it. It was Gillian Anderson, and they did it it was in London, but it was done in the round. So as soon as she's playing Blanche, as soon as she takes her first drink, the entire stage starts to rotate, and it's really just like kind of amazing.
Right.
But we took it and did, since I have tattoos and all that stuff, we said, here's the script, and here's what we're doing, but we're going to sort of lend a modern air to it. Like it can be at any time.
Right.
So that was very helpful to be able to, sort of be like, this could be happening right now somewhere else, and just brought the realism into it, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I like things that are adapted that way. So you're not awkward dialogue. Geez, he's packing a heater, yo. You know what I mean? It's like
Guys and Dolls type stuff.
Exactly. Sometimes things need to be, I mean, it's a story, it's a timeless story. It can be told, it can be in any time format. So, dude, you've been on set with some, I mean, really heavy hitters: Harvey Keitel, Nick Offerman, Stephen Lang. Let's have some good set stories. What are some of your most memorable moments about being on set around some of these guys who've been doing it for so long?
I have discovered, and I will stand by this, that most often the most generous and open actors on set are also the most talented.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm finding that to be the truth with Stephen. Well, I just worked with Theo Rossi last year in Biloxi. We shot one it's about to come out now too. Same thing. Nick Offerman, same thing. Nick would come into the room and chatting with all the extras, and "How are you guys doing?" and joking along, and there's no pretension, there was no airs, there was no ego, and I think the ego gets in the way a lot. So one of my favorite experiences, period, was on Hellfire with Harvey Keitel. So it started with I was standing in line at Crafty, and I heard this voice behind me. It says, "Do they have any vegan options?" And I turned around, and it's just Dolph Lundgren just standing there. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, there's salads over here, Dolph."
He's like, no.
And I'm like, "It's just Dolph Lundgren." This is happening.
Yeah,
this is happening now. But we filmed it. We filmed some of it at, I think it's Marlsgate Plantation out in Scott, Keogh, Arkansas.
Right.
And Harvey Keitel came in for a couple of days to get his stuff shot. And while he was there, at Marlsgate, there's this massive staircase inside. Right. And then off to the side are these, breakout rooms and parlors and such. And the parlor over to the left was kind of like the A-listers. That's where, Harvey was hanging out, Stephen was hanging out. They're all of their, their assistants and all that sort of thing. And we shot, and I was on stunt teams also for that. So like, there's scenes, when I'm not giving anything away, but when Harvey's doing some of his stunts, I'm directly out of frame, right here, making sure he doesn't fall, And every take that he did was different, and I thought that was amazing.
Right.
Of course, he's Harvey Keitel; he can do that.
Right.
They might not necessarily let me do that every time, but Harvey did it, and so I'm sure they found exactly what they needed. But after it was all said and done, Harvey was leaving, and I was sitting by myself in the middle of the staircase. There's probably 10, 15 steps down below me. And Harvey comes out of the room. And of course, everyone wants to get their Harvey time and a glad hand them and all this stuff. And, everyone's shaking and all this stuff, shaking hands. And he walks, and there's a group of them. And is he stops at the end of the steps and kind of glances over his shoulder and looks at me. And we're talking about 83-year-old Harvey Keitel, the legend. He glances over his shoulder at me. He stops. He walks up the steps and puts his hand out to me. And he was like, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. I was like, man, that's class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't see that. And that was, so, being able to work with a guy of that caliber who's like definitely been high on my list to just be in the presence of.
Right.
For him to express his gratitude like that when he could have just been like, walk away. He walked up those steps. He shook my hand, then he walked back down, and then he left. So that's one of my favorite experiences. Now, also on Hellfire, right before we started shooting, Stephen Lang was telling us a story how he was in L.A., he was riding his motorcycle, and he was riding, and he hit a bump, and something happened, and he envisioned that scene from The Great Escape when Steve McQueen goes flying.
Right.
He envisioned that. And next thing he knew, he woke up, he was bleeding. People were like, are you okay? Whatever. He'd had this terrible wreck. This was like a month or so before we started shooting.
Right.
And he told me that story when we first met, and I got it in my head as I was watching, for the next few weeks that we worked together. It was like we were making a Steve McQueen movie. That's what it felt like. There was the machismo, there was the action, there were the car chases, all that stuff. So at the end of the shoot, I remembered, and I have all kinds of weird shit in storage and toys and stuff like that. But I had this G.I. Joe, like 1/12, scale, Steve McQueen, Great Escape, motorcycle action figure.
Nice.
Big thing in a box, still had it in storage. And I was like, well, shit, I'm going to give that to him. So I took that the last day of shooting that I was working with Steve, and I told him the story, how he, how it all come to this point. I gave it to him. And he looked at me, and he grabbed the back of my neck, and he pulled me close and whispered something to me. And I'm not going to tell you what he told me, but I'll show you what he did after that. And he pulled this out, and he gave it to me. And it's his Avatar Challenge coin.
Very cool.
And I was just completely floored.
And this is from the Avatar, the military group that he was in on Avatar.
Yeah,
and the movie Avatar.
Deja Blue.
Or in both Avatar movies, I guess.
And now the new ones. I mean, he signed on to do, I think 2 more. And they just finished shooting on one of the others. I think 3 or 4. I'm not sure how many they've got in the can at this point.
No, I'm holding that up.
But so things like that, completely unexpected, Again, it could have just been a, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Same with Harvey. It could have been the same thing.
Right.
But I and watching him, the man Stephen Lang is a powerhouse. He's very much in shape. He's
he's in such good shape all the time.
He works. He gets in there and he works it. And to see him being able to pull all that together, the physicality, the cordiality, the talent. I mean, it's inspiring working with people like that. They say, if you're the smartest one in the room, you need to find a new room. And that's what I keep trying to do, is find these new rooms, because these guys are all smarter than me. They're all doing better. But it just drives me to do better.
Tell me about your approach to doing, what is the difference between preparing for a film role and preparing for a stage role? And is there a difference?
Yeah,
really?
I think so. Because the basics between like film and TV and stage, TV is always verbatim. And generally the roles that I've been cast in or auditioned for, they're not, I don't want to call them throwaway roles. They're not disposable at all, but they move the story along. That's all they're there for. They're not leads. They're not, main antagonists. They're there for a reason, and then that reason is on the page. So it's these words, this thing, this scene, and that's it. Film is a little different, because film, sometimes you have a little bit more, you definitely have more lead time. And there's more opportunity often to improv a little bit or expand on that character.
Right.
Within staying within the director's vision and serving the script still.
Right.
But there's a lot more things you can do, I think, in film. And stage stage is like that too. It's a deep character dive, but it has to be verbatim, which will evolve and change and get better every time and every show until you wrap, and then that's it, until you strike. But that's why, I mean, I love doing the right stage, because anything on any stage performance like that, it requires a different set of focus, but it is the deep dive into the character that I enjoy, because it's the same thing over and over. And you enjoy it, but you have to also entertain yourself while you're doing this. So there's something in the way that you're delivering this line this night, or, this look this night, but it still has to stay, Yeah. You don't want the director pulling his hair out, like, what the fuck are you doing, So.
Yeah. And there's a little instant gratification with stage work, because you actually get to see a reaction immediately from the energy, performance, and you get that energy from the audience out there.
That's the thing that's why everyone walks the board. So because they want that.
Right.
And so many times I've been on the ass end of the negative, like in one night I was Principal Brian. I was just a mean, racist bastard. And I come out at the curtain call and everyone's like, but they come up to me afterwards and say, "You were so mean. I hate you." Yeah. I'm like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
That means I did it right.
Exactly.
So same with Boggs, those guys, the audience reaction is different. The appreciation is different, but I mean, I love it. I love them looking at me and saying, "You're a pretty good bad guy."
Right.
Because in reality, I'm really not, but if they want to cast me as a white trash bad guy, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's how they see me.
Well, I mean, would you, I'm sure you would love to play any role, but is there a preference? Would you rather be a hero? Would you rather be a villain? Is there?
I'd rather be a villain, I think, most of the time. I think they're more interesting.
They are.
And I think the villains, really good villains, have to be likable. And if you can make it likable, like Alan Rickman is one of the best at making likable villains.
Right.
From Hans Gruber to Severus Snape, he can make them likable, and that you have to have that. Otherwise, no one gives a shit about it.
Right.
But the villains are, like Nicholson's Joker, is a classic one. You have to be able to like him, and I think it's more fun. I think I don't really think I would enjoy playing. I mean, I might, but I'm not really drawn to like suburban dad types and lawyers and good guys and things.
Well, they're the straight guy. Even in comic books with Batman and Spider-Man, the most interesting people in the comic book are the villains.
Right.
Batman and Spider-Man are just the straight, the straight guys that are there to support the villains and finally beat them at the end. So what's a movie you think more people should see and why? Okay, so
my answer's changed a couple times since I first saw these questions, and recently it has changed to a film called The Sadness. It's 2021 zombie horror film, body horror, extreme horror, gory horror, and it was shot. Rob Jabaz shot it in Taiwan, and it's a zombie film without the zombies. It's a virus that turns everyone into like homicidal, sex-rage maniacs. And they do the worst possible things to people. So, I mean, if you're not a horror fan, it's probably not going to be on your list of must-watches. But I gave it a shot recently, and I really enjoyed it because it will shock you. You will go, oh my God, geez, And I don't want to give, like I said, much away, but I like stuff with gore. If it's campy gore or fun gore, and this is like really gory gore, but it still check those boxes for
right.
me. The Sadness, I think, would be one that I would definitely recommend if you're a horror fan, give it a shot. I signed up on Shudder just to get it. And then now we found all kinds of stuff on Shudder again that we've been watching. So, but that's going to be my answer for this week, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. All right. We're going to move on to some of our segments here. And the first one is Defend This. And this is where you defend a movie that you love that seems to get a lot of hate from the crowd. So what are you bringing?
I've got one that kind of walks the line. I'm sure I'll have people on at my back on this one, and that's fine. But it is Maximum Overdrive.
Okay.
The movie that was was Stephen King's directorial debut, but it was really directed by Cocaine.
Right.
The entire movie.
Yeah. Emilio Estevez.
Emilio Estevez being very Emilio. But I found something interesting because I rewatched it recently, and I found something very interesting about the film. Do you recall a scene in the diner where the waitress puts her hand in the garbage disposal and it comes to life and cuts her and messes her up?
Most definitely.
Okay. So that scene is not in that film. That is, I think, a Mandela effect. It is not in there at all. What happens is the electric knife comes alive and cuts her. But she never even puts her hand in the garbage disposal at all. At all. But in my head, that's one of my favorite scenes from that movie.
Right.
And I watched it again. I was like, where's the scene? It's not even there, you know? But you've got the entire soundtrack is AC/DC.
Right. AC/DC did the soundtrack.
It was released as like basically the Who Made Who, Who Made Who was released basically as the soundtrack for Maximum Overdrive. I just think it's great. I mean, I think it could have been a lot of other things. You know, it could have been better, could have been worse. But I love some of the effects, like the lawnmower coming alive. You know, just things like that. I mean, I think that movie. You know, we get to talking about like animal attack horror films and things, and people are they relate to those because those could really happen. You know, your dog could all of a sudden become a rabbit and attack your family. Well, you know, so could your blender, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, if we're talking hypotheticals.
Sure.
So, you know, I kind of love it. And like I said, I watched it again, and Yardley Smith is in it.
Right.
And it's very interesting being able to hear her cussing her husband out in Lisa Simpson's voice.
Right.
You know, so there's some gratification there. And I'll fight anyone that doesn't like it, I guess. I mean, you
know, it came out at where I was at a certain age where I don't know that I would have ever thought it was a bad film. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It was nothing but a great film to me. What year did that come out? It was in the 80s?
Does 87 sound right?
Yeah, somewhere in there, mid-80s, I think. And so all of the movies that came out in the mid-80s are great movies to me.
Well, except Predator 2.
Well...
And I thought that was great too. And we rewatched that recently, and I was like, Predator 2 is a piece of shit.
Is it really bad?
It's really bad. It's really bad. And that's one that I thought I could defend, but I can't.
Yeah.
Because after rewatching it, I was like, yeah, it's pretty bad.
You know, we watched one with Jennifer because we were going to watch the new Top Gun movie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, we can't watch that until you watch the first one, the Tony Scott joint. And it doesn't hold up nearly as good as I thought it would. And that was a pretty important movie back in the day. And it was actually really funny because when the song would keep, now we do it. That's a punchline to us every once in a while. Yeah. One of us will just go, and, you know, when we're, you know, holding hands or whatever. And so, and I just remember it being so good as a youngster.
Yeah.
And then watching it again as a grown up and just going, wow, it's kind of weird. It's kind of cringy. And
nostalgia betrays us. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of cringy in some places. And, you know, Phantasm for me, the first Phantasm movie, absolutely loved it as a youngster, related to everything in it. I related to the lead, the young lead that was in it. I related to Reggie. Related the whole thing, and it still is a great film, but they got to get the close up of the bug out.
That's the thing.
When I saw it, I was like, oh no, it's obviously felt, you know, and the teeth are made of felt, and they're curling up on the ends.
Just
and
remaster
stuff.
That one thing.
Just cut that one part out, man.
It doesn't serve.
Yeah, it would be so much better. I'll defend you on Maximum Overdrive. Fantastic soundtrack.
Yeah.
Emilio was at the height of his movie career at the time, just absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
Especially with all of his friends and all the John Hughes films that were coming out at the time. And
Brat Packers.
The Brat Packers absolutely destroyed back then. And then he kind of went on his own and made this machine horror film, which I thought was a cool move. And so, yeah, I'll actually defend you on on that one.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now we're going to go to the remake and the recast. What you got here? What movie would you love to remake, and who would you cast in those leads?
I keep going back to the Three Amigos.
Okay.
And if it was to be made modern day, I like, and I've spoken with Gretchen about this extensively because it's Three Amigos, so we can't not share our opinions on it.
Right.
But we would have Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling, and the third one is not a Ryan. I'm trying to remember who it is. But we want to put Pedro Pascal in as El Guapo.
Okay. I can see that.
And I'm trying to remember who the third one was. There we go. Paul Rudd.
Okay. Yeah.
Paul Rudd is next.
I got you.
Yeah.
I like it.
We like Paul Rudd. What would be interesting, and Danny McBride playing Phil Hartman's character.
Okay. Nice.
But the interesting thought about it would be also if it were to be gender swapped.
Yeah.
Who would you bring in as the Three Amigos? And how would you do that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I have no idea who I'd be. I guess maybe Amy Poehler.
Yes. Number one is Lucky Day. Yeah. What else you got? Tina Fey?
Yeah, Tina Fey.
Yeah.
Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. Maya Rudolph would be great.
Yeah. Those were, and why we go to female comedian actresses from SNL, I have no idea, but that's where we went as well.
Well, technically Martin Short, Steve Martin.
That's true.
They were all SNL.
That's true.
Well, was Martin an SNL thing?
Martin was SCTV, I think, wasn't he?
Was he? Did he do
I think he was SCTV.
I don't even know if he was on SCTV. I know he was Canadian, and I know that I saw him a lot on late night television.
Yeah.
So maybe he hosted SNL a few times. Have you seen Saturday Night?
Yes. I loved it.
What a great casting job.
I loved everything about it. I love the guy that cast as Carlin. That was my biggest fear. Is this going to be okay?
Yeah.
That was great.
Everybody was so good. The guy they cast as Garrett Morris,
isn't that his son or something? Is he?
They're not related. No, they just share the same last name. I actually had to look and see because they looked. And
that's right. I remember we looked that up. Yeah.
But everybody did such a great job of being the characters. The guy that played Chevy was really good. They were all just believable.
Yeah.
And that's
the guy, the Kaufman.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that played Kaufman.
Yeah. And what a weird position to be in. The guy who played Dan Aykroyd, who I've seen in a million things and would have never thought about casting him as Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
He was so good. And so, I was blown away by the casting they did in there and how well everybody performed, because that's a thankless job. Hey, I need you to be George Carlin in a movie. Yeah. And so you're like, they're either going to love me or they're going to hate me. There will be no in between. For that,
I auditioned for a famous, notorious serial killer recently for a recreation of something, and it was one of those things where if I got that role, no one would ever see me the same way again, ever. And that's what made me want to get it.
Yeah,
it was like, if you see me in this, seriously, be like, oh man, I can't believe you did that.
And that's got to be a real fear for actors too.
Yeah.
To find this meaty role and then know it's going to change everything in casting going forward, at least for a little while, while it's still hitting, while it's still, while that sunburn's still cooking.
When you have to regenerate your heat, and
right.
This is the heat you got right now. So.
Yeah, and I was always,
going to send you.
After Heath Ledger did such a brilliant job as the Joker, I wondered, God rest his soul, you don't have to worry about it now, but I wondered what that would do to his casting going forward, because, oh my goodness, when they first announced him as that role, the internet just took a giant shit on him. Oh, yeah. It was just nonstop. What are you doing? You're ruining the Joker. And Ledger wasn't afraid of any role. He would go after any role that he found media enough. And as soon as I saw his performance in the Joker, I was like, what's he going to do now for the next 5 years? What are they going to cast him as? Is he going to have to fight off these playing weird, crazy guys now for the next 5 years? Or are people going to be scared to cast him in a rom-com now?
Some of those choices, even, Brolin as Thanos and things like that, people that think, you would not ever expect that would be something that they would do and just excel at.
Right.
You know? And I think the Joker might have been like, it's like a career defining role for him.
It was.
And it showed, but I think it showed people, and whether you know, a lot of people don't like the film, that's fine. They don't like the character, that's fine. But you cannot deny the fact that he just completely embodied that.
Yeah, well, I think that's the exception and not the rule. I think everybody loved his performance in that. I think he showed the internet exactly how it's done and gave them a huge middle finger with that performance and just absolutely killed it. Just killed it. Let's move on to our next segment. Now playing in my brain.
So again, when we first discussed doing this, it was around a month or so ago, I guess. First time we talked about it, maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And at the time, I was we were rewatching Righteous Gemstones, season 1, because 2 was coming out. And since then, we've just blasted through it all and watched season 2, and it was fantastic, and I loved that show. So then we moved on to The Last of Us, the new season of The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. We rewatched a little bit of that, and then we're current on that. So aside from that, again, going back to Shudder, we've been watching this series called Horror's, I think it's called Horror's Greatest. And it's sort of like every episode is focused on, obviously it's horror films, but you've got one about like, this is all the Stephen King stuff. And this is all about, you know, Japanese films. And this episode is all, the one we're watching today was all animal attacks.
Okay.
And famous animal attack films. And I'm really enjoying that because it's turning me on to a lot of stuff that I don't understand how I can be 50 years old and not have seen some of this shit. This would have been right up my alley, you know, when we were watching all this stuff, like Return of the Living Dead, you know, when that came out, there's all this other stuff that I completely missed. And all these crazy films, like there's one called House, it's Japanese. And I don't even know how to describe it other than what the fuck is that? And I've got to watch it,
right?
Because it's crazy. But that's what we're binging right now is that series, horror. I think it's called Horror's Greatest on Shudder. And it's just a lot of fun because it's, you know, here's your slasher episode. And we're going to rank, you know, and then they're going to recommend things that you've never seen or whatever. And they have snippets from, you know, just like mini interviews going throughout it, like a podcast style with all these different personalities giving their input on it and stuff. And I really enjoy it because it's horror movies are my thing.
So I was about to say, have you always been a horror guy or is this something new? I think
so. Like when I was little, when, you know, as a teenager, it was all like Throwing Stars and Fangoria magazines.
Right.
That's where I was at. And, you know, I thought, you know, I was looking at Dick Blick's stuff and I was like, maybe I want to do special effects makeup, you know, when I get older, you know, maybe because that'd be cool. Because it was always like, you know, get the Fangoria or whatever, or watch, you know, the stuff on TV. And I was like, how do they do that? And like Ray Harryhausen and all this, like, how does he do all this? So I knew I wanted to be part of that magic. And a lot of it was either darker or fantasy stuff or horror. You know, I've always just kind of been drawn to it.
Right.
I think some of the best villains, you know, the most fun villains even are in horror films, you know, like your classic slashers and such. But also guys like The Stepfather, you know, is a really good villain of a good film, just a terrifying performance. You know, and I think horror is definitely my favorite of the genres. And then there's not just horror. There's all these different subgenres like body horror, animal, all this stuff. But I like schlocky horror too.
Right.
I like schlocky kind of, you know, trauma type stuff.
Right.
Know.
Have you done a true horror film yet? I mean, Now You See Me is kind of a darker, but it's not. I wouldn't really classify it as horror, though.
We've done some like I would say maybe pseudo horror stuff, like some of the UCA films, some of the college stuff. You know, There was one where I had a character that was kind of inspired by Lou Cipher from what was it, Angel Heart?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I got the fingernails and all that stuff, and it was. But there's not. And again, it was a short film, and there wasn't really enough time to dig into like. Who is this guy? What are we doing?
All right.
So like true horror, not yet. I've been auditioning for a lot of it though. And this year, for the first time ever, I not only auditioned in just my underwear, but I auditioned in just a jockstrap. Because I said, fuck it. You know? Because it says the script has nudity and some of it was graphic, like prison rape nudity.
Right.
You know? I was like, well, if I'm going to even read for this, the least I can do is just put on some draws and show my balls.
Yeah.
At least. So that, and then the next one is even worse. And I'm like, okay, so I guess now I'm doing this in a jockstrap, and I text my agent. I'm like, you got to see this. I mean, I know you're going to have to see it, but here it is. And she's like, that's great. And it's weird because it was super uncomfortable and it was super, what's the word? I was just so exposed.
You're vulnerable. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Super vulnerable, just exposed physically and emotionally. And the best thing that came out of that is, like I said, the first one in the underwear. The next day, my agent texted me and said, the casting company wants to know if you're truly okay with the nudity. I was like, fucking terrified, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell them yeah. And I didn't get the job, not yet, haven't heard back.
Right.
But the ability to do that and say that was powerful, just as powerful as saying no.
Right.
Saying, yeah, I don't give a fuck, I'm going to do this. As a character actor, that's what I want to do.
Right.
I want to do those challenging things, otherwise, why the fuck did I get up today?
Right. Well, I mean, it's our culture.
It's not porn or anything, but it doesn't matter.
If you were in France or in Argentina or in Brazil or something making a film that would, I'm sure the actors there would be like, oh, it's just part of the thing.
Yeah.
No biggie. I mean, but being in the U.S., it's just such a, we were raised for it to be awkward. Naked is awkward.
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Michael Caine that basically alluded to the fact that he doesn't do nudity because that's the only thing that you have as an actor that's truly yours. But I'm like, you're there to share something. You're there to share something with your audience. You're there to help create this thing. Why am I scared? Why should I be scared about it?
Right.
Because you tell me to be scared because it's not right?
Yeah. You were raised in a way to make you believe that it's not, that you should be scared.
My ears all red now, making me all pissed off.
Lots of dongs of the boys, too.
Yeah, lots of dongs.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure those are prosthetics, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to wrap this up now with some quick hitters here. Your favorite top 3 movies of all time. If you were flipping the channels around and you land on one of these, you're not going to change the channel.
It's going to be Tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be Airplane.
Okay.
And as far as not changing the channel, I mean, if there's a good Bruce Lee on,
oh yeah,
Game of Death maybe.
See, Game of Death is my least favorite Bruce Lee.
You don't like Game of Death?
No, because it's just so disjointed. Because he died during that one, and like they had to use like a double for some of the stuff. Now I do love the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fight, which is classic.
Yeah.
But it's just really, it's not my favorite one.
Right.
Yeah. Return of the Dragon.
Enter of the Dragon or Return of the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything.
Chinese Connection.
Chinese Connection. Any good old Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Or definitely Airplane. I mean, yeah, I would definitely, I can't turn off Tombstone though. I mean, Jaws is pretty perfect.
It is.
It seems cliche, but it is. It's just the go-to.
Jaws to me is the greatest horror film ever made. It's the only horror film that I watched that changed my life.
It changed everybody's life.
I stopped fishing for a couple of years. I didn't go out on the Arkansas River and fish
past
anymore.
Your ankles.
I started taking showers. I think I was, what did it come out, 76?
78. Was it 78? 75.
Oh, no, I was very, very young when it came out, and I watched it I was at the age where I should have never been watching that movie.
That's when they're the best, though.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely had an effect on me. It affected my life. That's how good of a horror film that movie is.
And then Piranha came out like right after that and basically stole, it was 1,000 Tiny Jawses, but it was the same thing. But Jaws was like, it shows you how you can do something where you make so many mistakes and it still comes out right.
Yeah, and Piranha had boobs in it.
Piranha did have boobs. It had good side boob.
Yeah.
And it had some full-on boob.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
All right. Your favorite hero of all time?
If I had to pick one, Ellen Ripley.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, Ellen Ripley. checks all the boxes.
Have you seen the high school play of Alien?
I have not.
It's on YouTube. You should check it out. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They spent a lot of time on the alien costume, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And they used it. They worked it. They used it in all the best ways. Who's your favorite villain of all time?
I almost want to say Nicholson's Joker, man. It's just so good. You know, Nicholson, just growing up watching him from like the Two Jakes, Chinatown, and then into this, like Batman. It's Nicholson's Joker's pretty strong for me. But as far as like truly villainous, scary, terrifying, it's Anton from No Country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a popular choice. I think he was Miles. Miles Miller's choice. And you know, a villain, they're the villain in a movie. They're not necessarily villainous. You know, I love Ed Harris in The Rock. I think he's one of the most likable villains.
Malkovich in Con Air.
Yeah,
it's good.
Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah.
Just anti-heroes, I guess, would be a better description than a villain.
Not necessarily. Like everyone's list will be topped with like Vader, you know, and I get that.
Right. But ultimately, they're bad guys. Then when you boil it down and make it just the froth on the bottom, it's a bad guy.
Was Patrick Bateman. You know, not necessarily a villain, but Jesus Christ, you know, a bad guy. You know?
Yeah, I'd say he's a villain.
You say he's a villain?
Yeah.
I think he's a villain.
He can chop people up with axes.
He's misunderstood.
You think? Yeah.
I think he's just like, I think people just...
Yeah. I mean,
they take it out of context, Kelly.
He defended Huey Lewis in the news in a way that made him less of a villain, I guess.
Okay.
So, who's your favorite director of all time?
Burton's really up there. I like Tim Burton stuff, but as far as for like cinema, I would say Scorsese, but I'm going to say Frank Darabont instead.
Okay.
Because just some of the stuff that he's given is like The Mist and Green Mile, you know.
Shawshank.
Why are those all Stephen King adaptations? They are, aren't they?
He writes Stephen King for the screen better than Stephen King does.
He does. He script doctors for a lot. He script doctors for all the stuff. Which,
of course, Walking Dead as well. This is the early seasons of Walking Dead, which are by far the best. Seasons.
Yeah. Now I like Darabont. I love Kurosawa. If I'm just watching, you know, those films they're not for everybody, but they should be. You know, Seven Samurai, Rashomon. But as far as like cinematically speaking, I really like Darabont.
Yeah. You know, I'm a huge Robert Rodriguez fan. He's actually the guy who got me into filmmaking. He taught me into it, and with the director's commentary on one of my kids' movies, like My Shark Boy and Lava Girl, maybe.
Yeah.
Or Spy Kids. But he's not my favorite directors. The GOAT to me, I've seen more of his movies and enjoyed them than anybody else. It'd be Ridley Scott, probably. Is up there pretty high. Of course, Spielberg and all the normal ones you could name. But Ridley Scott has made more of my favorite movies over the years than anybody. And New School, Edgar Wright, I really like his Guy Ritchie-esque stuff that he got from Guy Ritchie when he was doing his joints for a while. And I like his movies. Now I like the way he directs.
I mean, as I've aged, definitely, you know, if you'd asked me this question different years ago, the answers would have been for sure Kevin Smith, Quentin Tarantino.
Sure.
You know, and, you know, Spielberg, Lucas. But where I'm at now, I think that's kind of, and I can't discount those guys. You know,
Right.
if there's a top 10 list, they're solidly in there. But, and it changes because you know, if you ask me also who's, you know, favorite actor, it could be Michael Shannon this week. It might be Bryan Cranston next week.
Well, I mean, if you're a true cinephile, they have to change. Just like asking somebody who their favorite band is.
Yeah.
Do you listen to music? If you stop listening to music, you're only going to have one favorite band, or one or two favorite bands, and they're never going to change. But if you're constantly soaking yourself with new material, you're constantly going to have a new actor you like, and you're constantly going to have a new director that you like, and that's a good thing.
I think that's healthy.
Yeah, it's totally healthy. What actor would you love to co-star with? Who would you love to work against?
Pedro is right there on the top of the list, man. But he's in everything.
He really is.
You know, he is in everything. But I think for like for the craft, I want to work with Cranston. Bryan Cranston, I think, would be really high up there for me. Willem Dafoe would be an amazing one.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Oldman.
Would they be intimidating to work with, you think?
Of course.
Yeah.
But if I'm not anxious about it, I don't care about it, right? So, yeah, absolutely be intimidating. But I thought I would be intimidated before, and I'm just like, oh, this is happening here, you know? Set story. A couple years ago, we were in Houston at a high school shooting Ick. And I'm in this full regalia of like this gold lame jumpsuit playing the DJ, you know, just really trashy looking guy. And I walk out into the hallway, a guy is standing out there and he's like, hey man, how you doing? I was like, hey, I'm Jason. He's like, hey, I'm Brandon. And I didn't realize I was shaking hands with Brandon Routh when it happened. I didn't realize he was even in the shot or the scene that day. But I was like, oh, he's the lead. And he's just like hanging out there with his, you know, with his getup on. And then we're like, all right, well, let's go back and shoot this prom scene. So we go back in there and I was like, that's the kind of shit, like I couldn't imagine that happening 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I think I took it off on a tangent, but I had to
no, that's fine.
I had to get that one out.
That's fine. And now you said your favorite director of all time, but what's a director that you would love to work with? So like for me, Adam McKay would be a director I would love to work with simply because the freedom of improv and the way they just yell lines to you to try and get out and stuff. He seems like a really fun director to work with. Who would you like to work with?
Danny McBride, for certain. My other one, Joel Coen.
Okay.
And
just one of the Coen brothers, not Ethan.
I'll take them both.
You don't want Ethan?
I lean towards Joel, but I think that, and I think either one would be okay. I think I'll take them both. And, you know, if I want to get completely absurd, if there's a Cronenberg project out there, I'd do that too.
Okay.
You know, and that'd be like right up my alley.
Some body horror.
I want to do something that, look, I want a Todd McFarlane action figure made of myself.
Okay.
And sign at conventions. That's all I want out of this career. That's really all I want. I want to go to Topeka and set up a table for a couple days and be like, oh, have you seen Now You See Me? Really? You like that? Okay. I want to do that.
Right.
That's it. And I think Cronenberg might be my ticket to that, or Lloyd Kaufman, you know, maybe. But yeah, that's definitely one of the answers of all time.
All right. Where let's talk about where people can find your previous work and what you got coming out that they can look forward to seeing.
If they're really interested, if they type my full name into Google, I manage the page. So I'll show you everything right there.
Right.
You know, all my links are there. Freedom's Path is on, I think it's still on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
But the new stuff, okay, Ick is on its way out at some point. It's Joseph Kahn's project. And Joseph Kahn, he's directed music videos for everybody. U2, Taylor Swift, everybody. So that's on its way out somehow in the pipeline. Ick. Sovereign is showing at the Tribeca Film Festival next month. I believe it's also at the Bentonville Film Festival here in Arkansas, the 20th. And I think it comes to theaters July the 11th. I think that's the case. Shot one in last year in Biloxi that's in post-production now called Come With Me with Theo Rossi and Ron Perlman. That'll probably be, I don't know anything about it, but streaming, I would say in the next couple months or so, probably. Keep an eye on it because they did a project right before that. They have a tendency to wrap it up and put it out pretty quickly. So that team has got their stuff together. What else? Good Time Charley we shot right here in Little Rock, Corbin Pitt's film. And he's still working it, getting it ready to go to festivals, I think. But the rough cut's done. So that's a feature that will be out at some point. And that's 4, isn't it? There should be a 5th one. You see, I've got a note. There's something else. But Hellfire. Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But Hellfire did recently, in the past week, it changed status on IMDb from post-production to completed, which is a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
That's Johnny Young Bosch, Harvey Keitel, Stephen Lang, Dolph Lundgren, me doing all kinds of stunts. And I get my big scene with Harvey Keitel in that. Here's your coffee, sir. I get to do that, that thing with Harvey. So we'll see if that makes it. But it's shot right here in Arkansas, most of it right down the street at Diamond Bear Brewery. And that's it, those 5 things, and anything else, I'm sure I'll update the page at some point. People really want to find out, they'll find out. They'll find a way.
Yeah.
So,
Jason Scott Morgan.
Yeah.
It's an absolute pleasure having you on Kill Real on the podcast today.
I'm so glad we got a chance to do this finally.
I am too. Super fun.
Yeah, buddy. Till next
Look forward to seeing you and stuff.
Yeah. Fucking A.
Let's go.
All right.
Lights dim low, the real begins, where stories fight and legends spin. Heroes rise, villains fall.